Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am the Principal and Chief Visionary Officer of Adam Red and Atlanta Branding Agency. I'm a brand strategist and a Better Life Coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. You can watch live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your favorite social networks or on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com, where you will also find the replays. And then tonight, I'm going to continue talking about engineering your corporate DNA and the fact that you were born to produce. It's part of your destiny, your heritage, and your purpose. Only this time, I'm going to continue asking you what habits were you born to master, and we're going to be digging into productivity over the next few weeks. But I realized, continuing, that I couldn't stop there, that the biggest obstacle between you and where you want to go is your habits. So what if I could help you become more disciplined? What if I could? So that's what we're working on. Say hello to Ron and Katrina. They're helping me monitor the chats. Please share with your friends, and we are going to get started. Or introduce yourself in the chat as well, and we'll get started right after this. Hello. Greetings to everyone again. So make sure you follow at Gwen Fucius, GwenFucius on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. Because I'm going to be dropping some knowledge and you need to be picking up what I'm putting down. All right. I love saying that because it's just silly. Anyway, so I have made some progress. I've actually made a giant breakthrough I'm so excited about. I started I got the Vivid model. I started using that in 2010, and in 2017, was it 2017? Oh my God, it feels so long ago. 2013, actually, I launched Vivid Talk Radio, and then in 2017, then I launched Vivid Talk Live, or Vivid Talk Magazine, and I had Vivid Talk Live on my horizon, right, on the radar. And it took me until 2020 to actually launch Vivid Talk Live. But I have been developing a series of what I call Vivid Brands, a number of platforms, interactive platforms, to really help entrepreneurs with their personal and professional development. So that's it. That's all I've been planning and working on forever. And back in 2017, I launched a weekly newsletter that would just kind of summarize all those things and just share everything I possibly could to help you get a vision for every area of life. And of course, like everything else, life happens, and I just stopped doing it. I stopped publishing it and everything. And I said, you know what? I have mastered doing the weekly Vivid Talk Live show. We're on, I think, episode 27, which is a fabulous milestone for me. But I thought, you know what? I need to start sending out my newsletter again. So I've done that. So I want to ask you also, if you're interested just in getting the newsletter, I'm going to be sharing tips and just tidbits. I can make it easy. That's why I wanted to make it a newsletter. Also, am re-implementing just regular blog posts as well. So every week, there'll be a new blog post to just really help you just get focused. An easy read, nothing complicated and difficult. And then and I'm also going to re-implement our weekly, when we started, the launch party week was 5 straight days of live, and I was doing a daily drawing every week, or every day. And so now we're going to re-implement that. And every week I'll launch a new quiz, because I think quizzes, I'm all about personality assessments, but I think quizzes are a fun way to learn some learn some quick lessons, right? Get some really simple and fast insights that you can kind of chew on for the week and help you just move you forward in just really slow incremental ways, and then also to provide you with some more resources. So there will be free downloads and other things in the newsletter and in the blog. And so if you'd like just to get a notification in your inbox, just for email. Soon I'll be able to send you text messages as well, just kind of a quick reminder if you'd like that too. But just start by subscribing to the newsletter, and you're going to do that on my website, which I always talk about. So on my website, you will be able to watch the show live on on the homepage, and then the replay from the week before is always on the bottom, and the button at the bottom to watch the replays, or you can go straight to the replays page, gwenwitherspoon.com/replays, and this is this week's blog post. You can subscribe. You can see the subscribe button right over here on the right to my newsletter. Now, if you subscribe, this is the Vivid Talk News email newsletter. But because I'm starting and promoting the Vivid Talk live show through my gwenwitherspoon.com coaching website for now, when you subscribe to the Gwen's Better Life blog, you will also get the Vivid Talk news email. So what I'm going to be doing is eventually we'll be separating the two, but for now, all things Gwen Witherspoon Coach will be attached to the Vivid Talk News email newsletter. And so you can subscribe there, buy the blog, or you can just go straight to the page, gwenwitherspoon.com/subscribe. Okay? So that was a mouthful. But I'm excited because tell you a funny story quickly. I was 9 years old, and I was an only child for almost 12 years. Actually, over 12 years of my life, I was an only child. So I had to really entertain myself a lot. And I did it by I was in my room always creating. I was drawing, and I was making, colored paper. I was cutting out colored paper and turning them into towns and creating houses and neighborhoods and just craziness, and drawing and painting and just doing things. But I was obsessed with Barbie dolls. And I had about 40 Barbie dolls and all of the fixings, their houses, the townhouse, the everything. Okay, just let's cut to the chase. I had it all. I was spoiled. Okay, hello. But one of the things I did was when I would play with my other little girlfriends, 8, 9-year-old girls, I noticed that they were just really abusing their Barbie dolls, and I couldn't take it. So what I did to solve this problem was I wrote a guide. It brings tears to my eyes. It's so silly to me now. But I wrote them a guide, and I hand wrote them on construction paper, and I bound them with staples. And then I literally passed them out to all of my little friends, which I have no idea of how they responded to that. I can't even remember, but all I remember is just the action of righting this wrong in the world. And basically what that taught me, and it was reiterated later, that I'm a publisher at my core. A publisher, a teacher. If I see a problem and I see anybody with a problem, I want to help make a difference. I want to help solve it. And so writing content and developing programs and creating the live show and doing a podcast, all those things, that's me all day long. And what I have done over the years is I have delayed doing this and developing this part of my life and the gifts that are inside of me. I've delayed them by pouring into everyone else. And so some of you can probably relate, spending a lot of time. I think we comfort ourselves by trying to right the wrongs that we see in ourselves through other people, and we have to start with ourselves first. So all the Vivid brands, I'm using everything that I'm sharing with you, I'm using them on myself now, because I'm finally stopping and investing my time in developing who God designed me to be and creating my own personal brand. And so I just want to make sure that that I'm publishing information that really adds value to your life, that really does help you with your personal development. And what I will say, the last thing I'll say about that also is that, there are a lot of voices in the earth, a lot. And there are a lot of people who appear to be successful in whatever realm. There may be even a number of them that really inspire you. And what I used to always say, and I said it today, was that I had all these ideas and dreams. I've always been that person, really motivated all by myself. Like I haven't had a lot of influences right around me doing the things that haven't had any, doing the things that I have always aspired to do. And what I used to think was that I was at a disadvantage because I didn't have any mentors that I could see, that I could model myself after, that I don't know anyone who's built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch, right? And so I thought, oh, I'm at this major disadvantage. And what I realize now is, whether you have somebody right by you that you can touch and call and talk to directly, there are many mentors in the earth. There are many voices. There are many who are stepping out and sharing what they have to offer with the world. There are books. There's all kinds of materials. There's all kinds of learning, especially now with the internet. And what we have to do is you have to really find somebody that speaks to you. And so I feel like at this point, especially at this stage of the development of this show and who I am, you don't know who I am. Most people don't. So if you are investing, getting anything out of this, then hopefully that's because that means that I am speaking to you in some way. And so when you find someone that is speaking to you in any way, you have to lean in and really pay attention and give yourself to actually doing what they are offering you, because you can grow and you can move forward with anything. Like if you just take an action different from where you are, go in a different direction, you're going to get to a new place, right? But it's about getting to the right place. It's about, I'm finding now that I'm hearing voices on the internet that are speaking to me in ways that no one else has in the past. Or when I do find somebody that I really am like, I'm really on the edge of cutting out all the emails that I've subscribed to that I haven't checked at all, from people that I respected and their information that I wanted. But then there are those that are just making my soul sing and helping me put things together. So I hope that I am becoming that person for you. Bottom line. So we're going to continue. This is technically the second week of answering the question, what habits do you need to master? But it's also like the fourth week or the fifth week of the Born to Produce series. Okay, it's the fifth week. And so what I want to do is continue. I'm using some worksheets that I've created for my Flip Productivity System, which is my life and action planning system that I am redesigning and restructuring, re-engineering to be a much more flexible system that's going to really be a great tool for you. But I have these worksheets. The theme or the slogan for Flip Productivity is plan, produce, play. Plan your work, produce what you've planned, and spend more time at play. And play is being more of who God designed you to be and doing, building what you've been inspired to build, to make a difference, to make your mark in the earth. And when you live like that, that's play, right? It really is. And that's where I am. I'm working hard, but this really is play because I'm becoming who God designed me to be. So I have a worksheet for each of those steps, right? For planning, for producing, and playing. I actually have two. So we're on the second one, which is mastering your habits. And I want to go back and reread to you just a definition for the habit. So a habit is something, it's a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up, nearly or completely involuntary. It's an unconscious pattern. So once something has become a habit, you start to do it unconsciously. It's instinctive. Something happens. It's like the light comes on and you actually do it, right? It's a habit. So I want you to understand that habits are not all bad. You might have been a smoker, or you might be a smoker, or something that's obviously detrimental. You could have a drug habit, right? We've heard of, we have people that are really stuck in that place, right? Because it becomes completely involuntary, because then after a while your body just craves it. But we have all kinds of habits, and those habits are ultimately the thing that could be keeping us from where we want to go. And I think as leaders, as innovators, as just human beings who want to make a difference and be change makers, it's so important for us to be aware of ourselves to the degree where we're able to recognize and make decisions about very clear, specific actions that we want to take to make the changes that we need to make in order to get to where we want to be, to see our vision come to pass, to see that positive future that we have, that positive vision that we have for the future that we imagine. And so I'm suggesting that there are 5 primary habits to master if you want to become more productive. And last week I talked about the difference between being effective and efficient. Um, we don't want to just be efficient. I love getting stuff done and checking off a list. It's like there's something really satisfying about checking it off. But just because you're busy and you're getting a lot of things done does not mean that you are being effective at exactly what it is you need to do to get where you want to go. And part of that is mastering your habits. And so I have 5 habits to master: organizing, tracking, acting, waiting, scheduling. And so we talked last week about organizing, and I got many points, but they are categorized in a way that I hope is going to be easier for you to remember. And organizing, um, last week we talked about organizing your vision, your communication, your process, and your thoughts. And I think I might even been dreaming about this, but I was playing with the idea of changing the word communication to collaboration, because I think that captures more accurately what it is I think you need to do. Like, um, we need to we organize a way. How are we going to collaborate with people? So one of the things that I love to do is, I use technology all day long, every day. That's my life. So it's nothing for me to use Google Apps. And I'm the one that's going, don't send a Word doc, send a Google doc, because I want to be able to collaborate with people so we can go back and forth more easily. So that's one of the ways that I organize my collaboration. I use digital productivity or digital project management tools so that we can collaborate more effectively. But you might not need that, but depending on what it is you are working to build. But I will say, finding digital tools that you can use to collaborate will make your life easier. Okay. But anyway, so I just wanted to make that edit, right? And I'm thinking I've got a communication/collaboration written down on my sheet for now. So I'm just going to keep mulling that over and see if I like to keep it. But I think that's a more accurate thing to add. So the second thing you need to master is tracking. I'm always telling on myself. But so tracking includes analyzing, it includes money, it includes your projects, and it includes your time. So the number one shortcoming, or the number one issue, I think, for entrepreneurs, for small businesses, is that we tend not to be able, we don't analyze our activities as effectively as we should. And some don't do it at all, right? We're just like, if we're getting money in, then it's good. But most of us can't say exactly how much money we're making. We don't really know our numbers. I worked in luxury retail. I've mentioned that before. And, managing multi-million-dollar global stores for global brands. And one of the things I learned from that was how to read a spreadsheet, how to capture certain metrics, performance metrics for our teams, how to use the information, the data that was gathered and provided from that to tell the story of what was actually happening inside of that store. I learned how to use that information to talk to coach, to develop my team members so that they could perform better and we could get to the sales goals, to the numbers that we were looking for, to the results that we wanted. And if I tried to hand a spreadsheet like that to the average small business owner, my average entrepreneurial client, they would look at me like I was crazy. But the reality is, no matter what you are doing, you must have data so that you can analyze your activities. You got to track what your progress, right? If you start out, you like say you create a new Facebook page, Facebook business page, you start from zero, right? But in order for you to get a custom URL, many times they will require that you have at least 25, 30, whatever. There's a minimum number of likes on your page that you need to have before you can do this next thing. Well, if you can get that, you go from zero today, and by tomorrow you got that number. That's data that you need to track because you've now had a percent of growth in a day, over a week. Have you ever looked at the analytics, the insights on your Facebook page, on any of your social media pages? Most of us do not. And what you have to do is you've got to start tracking your progress in every area. And it doesn't really matter where you start as long as you start capturing something. And as you start doing it as the owner and builder of your organization, of your company, of your ministry, you're going to be amazed. I guess you'll be encouraged more than anything else because you'll get a way to measure your progress. You'll be able to see, you know what? It feels like we haven't gotten very far and that there's all this work, but man, we really made a big difference. We improved this particular thing by 200% or 1,000%. You'll be amazed at the progress that you'll be able to find. And oftentimes, if you're using some kind of an application, those apps will have some benchmarks built in where they can tell you, I'm thinking of like the email management tools, those email clients, they'll say, well, your open rate is, compares to the other people in your industry or other people doing the same thing. They'll compare it for you. So you can say, okay, well, my 20% open rate isn't bad at all. And so that's the point of tracking. You got to track your numbers, figure out where you are. And so then the next one is money. You have to track your money. Now, some people are really good about that. They don't make a move. I'm on the creative side, more on the creative side. So I have more of a tendency to be a little loose, with tracking money, but I'm organized. So it's always been very frustrating to me that I don't keep track of money. But I realize too, it has to do with your hope. Like you have to have hope in everything. So if you are used to struggling in any particular area, if you have developed a habit, right, of not having, then when you have to face it, it can be difficult. I don't want to know how much money I don't have. I don't want to know how much I have lost. I don't want to know how far I have to go. Sometimes it's more comforting to just venture out and just see what happens, right? But you have to develop it. That's a habit that can sabotage your progress. And so with money, you have to have a way to track it. And there's so many different ways to do it. You can go old school with a ledger. You can physically write it down. I think you definitely want to separate. We're told this by every accountant and every bookkeeper that we want to separate our personal and our business money and affairs. And you need a clear way that you're going to do that. And I think also you want to one of the first things that I suggest you do is create a financial roadmap. Like get a vision for your money. Get a vision. How much money do you want to make? That's the most difficult question for most entrepreneurs to answer, especially females. We have a tendency to feel like we have to serve. We want to serve, we want to make a difference, and we want to take care of everybody. And somehow we feel like there is a disconnect between making money and taking care of people, and there isn't. I learned in my luxury retail days, selling is service. If I sell you something, if I help you find something that solves a real problem for your life, if it it fills a need for you, I have served you, I have done you well, and so I should also receive. It's okay if I receive a benefit from doing that. That's called capitalism. Okay, so we want to track our data. We want it so we can track our progress, see where we've been. We also need to track our money. And it's okay. This is the other thing I figured out. There was a time, thank God not there anymore, but when I was a single parent raising my son by myself, there was a time when I had the worst credit score on the planet because I just didn't have money. I couldn't keep track of basic things, so that impacted my credit, and it was so hard to face it. But what I learned when I finally did was that, the deeper the hole you're in, it's almost like the faster you could get out because you have something to start from and some things to work with. So really it won't take a whole lot to get you out. It's just a matter of systematically, you got to know where you're starting and where you're trying to go and do some very systematic things to get yourself out. So I guess what I'm trying to do now is really help you deal with if you have an aversion to tracking data, money, that part of that, I'm asking you, could it be that you've lost a little hope in those areas? Because when I started getting hopeful and realizing that, oh, I'm not really in that deep of a hole, as deep of a hole as I thought. When I saw myself making progress, when I was able to pay off my car, my husband made that very possible. Thank you, honey. But when I was able to focus on financial things and I saw progress in it, it started restoring my hope in that area and helping me realize that, you know what, I might be in this situation right now, but that doesn't mean I have to stay there. Money accumulates very quickly, whether you are spending it or whether you are receiving it. And so it's just a matter, but you got to track where you are so you'll know when you can celebrate. You'll know when there's something that you need to address. So nothing can come and really take you by surprise, right? That's why it's so important to track your money. The other thing is projects. So I love this because I started out creating my flip book planner because I was an entrepreneur offering services and constantly doing projects. I come from the agency world, which is all about projects and multiple clients all at the same time. So I wanted to help people with the flip book to track entrepreneurs, to track their projects, to turn everything into projects. And I was talking to somebody about that and they said, shoot, life is a project. I went, yeah, life is a project, everything about it. And so you got to learn how to organize all the things that you have to do into projects. If you put them in big old giant buckets, then you can start drilling down and getting specific and kind of knocking those things down, getting them accomplished. What I know I tend to do is, even if I create a big bucket, I may not face it. Again, it goes back to that hope, right? If you have hope, if you see a way forward, it's easier to invest your time and your life in it. And so if you are tracking your projects, it'll help you see what you have on your plate, where you can be able to say yes and no to new opportunities, or decide definitively that you're going to cut some things out because these things are bigger priorities or whatever. Because we all have the same amount of time, which leads me right to the next one. So you want to track your time. Now, I come again from the agency world back in the day where we tracked our time in 15-minute increments, and we did that manually. There were no devices to do that. And so in my mind, I've gotten in that habit. And so I'm typically really aware of what it is I'm doing at any given moment. If I'm not, I'm off, right? I know that about myself. But we have to, and then back in the 90s and 80s, we used to have all these time management courses and training programs, and I love training. But really, it's not so much. It's you gotta. I want you to track your time in the way that's important to you. So 15 minutes, every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year may not be what you need to do, right? But you do want to have some mechanism for how you are tracking time, just in the way that it's important for what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? So because what I know for me, and what I found for many of my clients, you need a deadline. And so if you have a deadline, you can create a sense of urgency for yourself so that you can get things that are important to you accomplished, so that you can invest your time and energy, because we all have, I call it the 24 principle. I've mentioned that during our vision theory series. But the 24 principle is basically real simple. We all have the same amount of time. So what is it about Oprah or Damon John or who? The president? What is about all of those people that you don't have? We all have the same amount of time. So whatever level of accomplishment that you are looking for and you're seeking, whatever impact you want to make in your life, on the lives of other people, you are perfectly capable of doing that. But you have to learn how to track your own time so that you can utilize it to the really to its ultimate, like up to its ultimate potential. And you want to be able to do it kind of sweatless, right? You don't want everything to be difficult. You don't want everything to be pushing a boulder uphill and everything to be hard. And you don't want to feel like you're losing time or that. And let me speak to that. Because I was saying something to someone else too. It's like, I'm 57. I turned 57 this year, and closer to 60 than I've ever been. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just getting started. And so it would be really simple for me to say, man, I should have been further along. I should have done this, or by now I should be X, right? And I just want you I want you to free yourself from all of that kind of pressure, and that literally, and I love, we talked about Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain so that he that reads it can run. It talks about, is it Habakkuk? Talks about, though it tarry, wait for it, the vision. I think it is Habakkuk 2:2. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's don't like, I'm going to have to read it because I can't. Sorry, you guys. I want to read that correctly because I think that's super important. Let me. Yeah, sorry. What is it? Though it tarry. Just give me a second. It's going to be, we're going to start. I don't know why I'm having kind of a little brain fart. Sorry, didn't mean to say the fart word, but that's what's happening. Yeah, though it tarry. Yes, Habakkuk 2:2. It says in the King James Version of the Bible, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And so I am seeing that in my life. I'm like, though it tarry. So tarry, clearly not a word that we use all the time, but basically it means though the vision that you have had in front of you all these years, though it seems like it's taken a while for it to come to pass, though it seems like you're behind schedule, though it seems like it may never actually come to pass, the principle is, the truth is, don't even worry about any of that. that it's going to happen when it's supposed to. You will not be behind schedule. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long how hard it seems, no matter how many times you may have personally failed or backed off or anything. I don't know if you watch me too long, what you'll see is that I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I'll come up with some stuff and it may take a while for it to actually happen. And a lot of that I realize is about me. This whole thing we're talking about. You were born to produce, but the thing that's stopping you is you and your own habits. So, but everything that you everything you need, everything you do, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, everything that happens to you internally, externally, all those things are working together for your good. And what you see and believe and you want, it's going to happen. But you got to continue. You got to continue developing and growing and continually just making one step, putting one foot in front of the other. I'm in a conference this week, 2 conferences. So literally I'm going from sitting in front of the computer working all day and all night to literally sitting in front of the computer doing workshops, talking to people, learning from people, asking questions, writing notes. You should have seen all my papers on my desk. And I am investing time in developing, and it's amazing to me how I'm getting nuggets from every session that's helping me put everything together like a puzzle, right? But my thing is, I can't allow myself to get overloaded and overwhelmed by all the information because I really don't quite exactly know how to implement it all. But what I'm learning is if you just take the tidbits and you just start writing them down, it's all going to start coming together and making sense. But you have to be doing the work. And that's the part where our habits will stop us. I have a habit of stopping when this thing happens, or when emotionally, when you feel a certain way, what are you doing? Do you stop tracking your time? Do you just throw that project by the wayside? You never even look at it anymore. Do you get loose with your money, or do you get super tight with your money and you're afraid to invest in anything? Like, what habits do you need to master? What about tracking do you need to master? Okay. And then and I'll probably introduce this and then we'll pick it back up next week. So I told you I love lists. I'm an organizer. I like, I don't know, there's just something therapeutic about it too. And so, there's all kinds of to-do lists. People who write lists, we write lists and then we make our list of our lists and then we just have them everywhere. But when I started developing the productivity system in the flip book, what I realized was, I think I actually learned this principle. I can't remember where. Anyway, but what I turned my thinking to was action. I wanted to help people have a propensity to not just, the phrase "to do" made me feel like that was too much in the future. Like there was something I was gonna get to at some point, a to-do list. I'm just making a list of all these things that are gonna happen at some point in time. Whereas I wanted to help you get a focus on immediate action. These are the things that I need to accomplish. So I created what I call the ACT list, ACT, and it's an acronym. What action do you need to take to complete the next task? ACT list. So one of the habits that we have to master is acting, the acronym acting. And that includes planning, connecting, serving, and assessing. And then let me put in another disclaimer. I have all these points and all these steps, and what we're not talking about is that you have to do it all at one time and that you got to be perfect and you got to make this hard. Literally, if something jumps up to you is like, oh yeah, I need to do that, then just start there. Like, don't worry about trying to do everything all at once. But I think just because you're overwhelmed by the complexity of a situation doesn't mean that you shouldn't face it head on. And it also doesn't mean that you don't need to do all the steps, right? Like, if there's just certain things that you have to do, if you want to get married, you have to take certain steps to get that done. And if you stop short of all the steps, you're not going to get married. And so it doesn't matter how much you can't say it wasn't fair. You can't say, oh my God, I was so overwhelmed. The bottom line is if you don't complete the process, you will not get what you want. And so there's this I was thinking about the matrix, there is all this matrix of things that you need to consider, factors, external, internal. Then when you mix all those things up, you bring another person in, it mathematically increases the amount of complexity. And life is complex. Oh my God, think about 2020. So one of the questions I asked was, what has 20 in the blog this week was, what has 2020 done to your vision? Because honey, nobody could have anticipated all of this going on all at one time. And so life itself, like I said, is a project. So none of it's easy. It's absolutely not. But what's beautiful is that in the middle of it all, you can still grow and thrive and come out on top. And if you are one of those people that's committed to just growing, and some days you don't feel like it, right? But that's part of the process too. But so anyway, everything has a process. And if you don't go through all the steps, you're not going to get where you want to go. And oftentimes we don't know the steps. We don't know them all. So we look to other people, we look to situations, we look for guidance and help and direction. And so that's what I'm trying to provide for you. But so acting, having just a mindset, a propensity, like we want to get to the place where your instinctive response to pressure is an action. Now, that doesn't mean that everything you're constantly going and doing and trying to, achieve and all that. I don't mean that at all. But what I do want you to do is get in action mode. What do I need to do? And to actually propel yourself, allow yourself to create some momentum so you can get where you want to go. So acting. We're going to start with planning and then I'll be done. So a plan. And I heard a word today that I love, playbook. Not a new word, of course, especially if you're into sports, but we need to create a playbook. And for me, I want to help you learn to live your life at play. And so I'm toying with this idea of how to help you create a playbook, which is ultimately the plan for your vision, so that, and especially the plan for your personal brand, so that you can do and you can learn that fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build, so that you have a plan, a playbook, a roadmap for how you're going to get there, right? And so planning can become fun, even if you're not somebody that's just given instinctively to doing it. But you need a plan for everything, at the least. If you're going to go to the grocery store, it's better if you go in with some kind of plan, especially during COVID. Remember when we first shut down and you had to go to the store, you had to have a plan because you wanted to get in there and get out, right, quickly. Many people say if you go to the store hungry, go to the grocery store hungry, you can come out with a whole lot more stuff. But if you have a plan first, you won't do that. People want us to, that's the other thing. Our retailers want us to go to the store, because how many times do you go to the store to see what you need rather than going to the store for what you need? So no matter what it is, we need a plan of some kind. And the plan can provide us a bit of comfort, even if you have a difficult situation ahead of you. But so I'm gonna stop there. We'll continue next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join me. We'll continue talking about the fact that you were born to produce. We're going to continue answering the question, what habits do you need to master? And then and make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, so that way you'll have the links to the blog post, to everything. You'll also see there. I don't know if I have a download this week, but I think next week there's a free download. So there's some other resources and things for you. But we will see you. Oh, and make sure you follow. Let me go back. We're gonna follow at Gwen Fuchsius on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. See you next week. Bye-bye.